Hello viewers, today's video is about the summary of the novel A Passage to India written by E.M. Forster. So let's start the summary of the novel. The novel begins in the town of Chandabur. The main character is Dr. Aziz, an Indian Muslim and surgeon. He meets with a few friends and they discuss the probability of Indians to form friendships with the British Anglo-Indians, but the group decides that it is impossible. During their discussion, Dr. Aziz is summoned to the home of the Major Calendar at the hospital. But when he arrives at his home, he finds that he has already left. This made him angry. His anger took him to the mosque. There, he met an elderly British woman, Mrs. Moore, who was visiting her son, Mr. Ronnie, the city magistrate. They talked and they could even form a friendship. Dr. Aziz accompanied Mrs. Moore to the club, a place that the locals are not allowed. She meets her companion, Adila Quested, the fiancée of her son Ronnie. Miss Adila complained that they have seen nothing of India. Mr. Turchin, the collector, proposes having a bridge party. When Mrs. Moore tells her son Ronnie about Dr. Aziz, he got mad and angry about his mother's association with a native. For Adila and Mrs. Moore, the bridge party is a failure, for only a select few of the English guests behave well toward the Indians. Among these is Mr. Fielding, the schoolmaster at the government college, who suggested that Adila meets Aziz. Mrs. Moore scolds her son for being impolite to the Indians, but Ronnie feels that he is not in India to be kind, for there are more important things to do. Aziz accepts Fielding's invitation to tea with Adila, Mrs. Moore, and Professor Godboul. During tea, they discussed the Marble Caves. Dr. Aziz invited all of them to visit the caves. Dr. Aziz, Mrs. Moore, and Adila are the only ones who went on the trip to Marble Caves because the others missed the train. During their exploration of the caves, Mrs. Moore heard some terrifying echoes, so that she left Dr. Aziz and Adila alone. They both continued their road. Suddenly, something happened. A conversation happened between Adila and Aziz. So Aziz left Adila alone and went into a cave to recover his balance, and Adila did the same thing. When he came back, he found that their guide was alone. Aziz searches for Adila but only finds her broken field glasses. He finds Fielding, who arrived at the cave in Mrs. Durrick's car, an Englishwoman, but he doesn't know where Adila is. When the group returns to Chandabur, Aziz is arrested for assaulting Adila. Fielding speaks to the collector about the charge and claims that Adila is mad and Aziz must be innocent. Fielding acts as Aziz's advocate, explaining such things as why he would have the field glasses. Mrs. Moore also believes that Dr. Aziz is innocent, so her son Ronnie sends her back to England so that she would not defend him. During the trial, when McBride, the district superintendent of police in Chandabur, asks Adila whether Aziz followed her, she admits that she made a mistake. It's just a hysteria from the echoes of the caves. So, Dr. Aziz was innocent. After the trial, Adila leaves the courtroom alone. Fielding accompanied her to the college, where she will be safe. After a few days, Adila left India and didn't marry Ronnie. Aziz hears rumors that Fielding had an affair with Adila. He believed these rumors. Because of this suspicion, the friendship between Aziz and Fielding begins to be normal and cool. Fielding leaves Chandabur to travel, while Aziz remains convinced that Fielding will marry Adila Quested. 2 years later, Dr. Aziz moved to Mao for a ceremony. He heard that Fielding and his wife are in the town, so he tried to avoid them by thinking that he had married Adila. Later on, Aziz knew that Fielding married Mrs. Moore's daughter Stella. His anger at Fielding cools. The novel ends with the talk between Fielding and Dr. Aziz by realizing that the English people would never be friends with Indians, so the both of them had separated in a good way. After finishing the summary of the novel A Passage to India by E.M. Forster, wait for the analysis of the novel according to post-colonialism. Seeing you next video.